Have you ever watched a man chase respect so desperately that he began to lose pieces of himself along the way? Not suddenly. One decision today, another tomorrow, until one day he wakes up and realizes he had lost everything except his own foolishness. This story is about such a man who believed that a red cap could fix the emptiness inside him, a man who thought that once he became Ozo, the world would bow, his enemies would tremble, and even the air he breathed would change. But what he didn't know was that the price of that title was not counted in cows and yam tubers. It was counted in dignity, in peace, and in family. This is the story of Obinna, a man who sold his life for a title. A story of obsession, of downfall, of regret so loud that even the drums of celebration could not cover it. So grab your popcorn or your favorite drink, because what you're about to hear is not just a tale, it's a warning written in sweat, pride, and the quiet tears of a family pushed to the edge. There is a way envy hides behind laughter, especially among men who call themselves friends. That Saturday evening in Agwata, the air was thick with palm wine, pepper soup, and pride. At the head of the plastic table sat Chidike, his red cap tilted slightly to the right, a new symbol of his power. His wrists glittered with coral beads, his laughter louder than everyone else's. Every few minutes, he raised his glass of stout and declared, "When you wear the Ozo, respect follows you like shadow. Even your enemies will still greet you, chief, while they insult you." The men roared with laughter. Obinna laughed too, but it was the kind of laughter that never reached the heart. He had come home to Ogata that month to meet with his 8th grade, a simple courtesy visit about their contribution to his late father's burial. It was custom. Buy drinks, host a small feast, show gratitude. He couldn't afford to do it during the funeral, so he postponed it. But as he sat there that evening, he realized he no longer felt at home in his own hometown, especially not with Dike sitting there. Dike had been his closest friend back in the day, the one he hustled with, planned life with, even shared cups of garri when money failed. They once dreamed of greatness together, but since Dike became Ozo, everything changed. The same man who once called him brother now spoke to him through his nose as if the red cap had added inches to his height. They had been sitting there for over an hour, listening to his stories about how the other elders now consult him before any village decision. His story felt like a knife twisting inside him. He sipped his drink quietly, pretending to enjoy the joke, but his mind was elsewhere. When will I also be called Chief Obinna, he thought. Dike continued bragging. You know, once you're titled, even your children begin to walk with confidence. It's not just about money, it's legacy. That word legacy hit Obinna like thunder. He remembered his father, thin, humble, always wearing the same faded wrapper, sitting beside the roadside during Ozo installation ceremonies. The old man used to whisper, "Obinna, one day I'll take the Ozo title. Our family name must not die ordinary." But poverty had other plans. His father died without the title, buried without fanfare. His coffin carried by men who barely even knew him. No one called him chief. No one poured libation in his name. Obinna had sworn that day, standing beside the fresh mound of red earth, that his own burial would be different. He would not die nameless. He would not die invisible. Obinna's life took a steady, ordinary path. He got a civil service job in Oka, earning enough to feed his family. He and his wife, Ngozi, built their little world with patience, 2 children, and a hope that tomorrow will be kinder. Their 2 kids went to decent schools, they paid rent on time, and they even managed the small luxuries once in a while. Sunday eat-outs at Chicken Republic, small birthday party celebrations, and an annual Christmas trip home. By most standards, they were doing well. A stable middle-class household. In fact, they had a project going on. A 4-bedroom bungalow rising slowly on the outskirts of Okatan. Every weekend, they would drive down to the site with bottled water and biscuits for the bricklayers. Ngozi would take pictures on her small phone, laughing each time she said, "When this house finishes, I'll finally plant my orange tree in front." They were happy, not very rich, but hopeful. And for a while, Obinna seemed content. But everything changed after the eighth grade meeting in Agwata. It started like a spark, small, almost harmless, but soon became a fire that refused to die. Something shifted in him. The man who once discussed cement prices and children lesson fees now spoke only of titles and recognition. Every word, every conversation carried one refrain: when I become an Ozo title holder, when I become a chief, when I wear my red cap. It was like a new gospel he couldn't stop preaching. Even Ngozi mentioned the roof repairs, he would wave her off. Forget that one. When I become Ozo, we'll build another house entirely. An Ozo like me cannot live in a bungalow. We'll build a duplex. If she asked about the weekly allowance for feeding, he would sigh. Ngo, when I become Ozo, money won't be this tight. Ngozi thought it was just midlife excitement. Leave him, she told her cousin one afternoon. Maybe it makes him feel young again. She didn't know it was growing into something deeper, something that would soon swallow their peace. Sometimes at night, while she lay beside him trying to sleep, she would hear him mumbling softly in the dark. Ozo Obinna wafo. Ozudo agwata. Yes, that sounds right. Then he would smile to himself, eyes closed, wearing the kind of grin a man wears when he's tasting a dream he isn't sure he can afford. It was as if the sound of that title alone was feeding him more than food could ever feed him. But she began to worry when he announced he'll be traveling to the village for a formal consultation with the other council. That morning, he dressed like a groom, white kaftan, walking stick, perfume heavy enough to announce him 2 streets away. Obinna. Are you sure we can afford this? Ngozi asked quietly. He smiled, adjusting his shirt. Ngo, my wife. You worry too much, he said lightly. If DK can do it, why can't I now? I'll do whatever it takes to wear those titles. His eyes glowed with excitement, the kind of excitement that made Ngozi feel uneasy. 3 days later, he returned home, visibly thrilled. Ngozi, he called from the doorway. They accepted me. I've been shortlisted for initiation. They said I only need to fulfill a few financial obligations. Financial obligations? She asked, setting down the bowl she was watching. What kind? He hesitated for a moment, scratching the back of his neck. Not much, he said. Just 2 cows, 10 yams, and a few 100,000 for documentation. Ngozi blinked. Obi, is that all? He grinned. Yes, well, that's for now. Oh. She frowned. Ha, for now? What do you mean? He chuckled nervously. Now, they said these ones are just for documentation. That during the feast, I'll do the proper rites. Her hands froze in the soapy water. What? Obinna! Isn't this outrageous? But Obinna wasn't listening anymore. His eyes had that faraway look, the same look he'd worn since DK's meeting in Agwata. There was no reasoning with him at that point. Logic had left the room. He wasn't hearing numbers or warnings. He was only calculating how close he was to finally being called Ozo Obinna Nwafo. A few weeks later, Ngozi noticed something unusual. Obinna had made large withdrawals from their joint accounts. Money meant for the building, for cement, blocks, and workers. That morning, after receiving a call from the site caretaker, she went to meet Obinna in the sitting room. Obinna, did you make the transfer from the project account? Because the workers just called me. They said they haven't been paid in 2 weeks. What happened? He smiled casually, leaning on the door frame. Oh, that? Yes, I took some money there. I sent some to the other council. He called me to inform me of a certain levy I have to pay to remain in the list, kind of like an acceptance fee. She stared at him in disbelief. From our building fund? He shrugged. Go, calm down now, eh? This one is also a project, even a bigger one. The house can wait, but this title, is destiny, something I've longed for all my life. She wanted to argue with him, but she stopped herself. She had learned that when it came to anything Ozo, reasoning never worked with him. At first, she thought it was a phase that would pass, but the weeks turned to months and things began to slide from bad to worse. Obinna stopped contributing at home. School fees, electricity bills, even their feeding money, everything quietly fell to her. He always had one excuse or another, usually ending with, "Don't you get it, Ngozi? I have a serious project at hand." The project he referred to wasn't the bungalow anymore. It wasn't even the family. It was the Ozo installation ceremony. He spoke about it with the same passion people use to talk about heaven. Every sentence charged with pride and anticipation. Meanwhile, the foundation of their real house sat unfinished, abandoned, beaten by rain and weeds. Then, one evening, as Ngozi walked past the living room, she heard his voice from the veranda, low, eager, full of fake confidence. "Yes, manager, I'll be coming tomorrow. Yes, I have the registered land documents with me. I'll be coming tomorrow." Her heart skipped a bit. She stepped closer to the doorway. "Obinna, which land documents are you referring to?" He froze. For a moment, his face went blank. Then came the usual defensiveness. "Ngo, don't worry, you won't understand. I just needed to make a quick move so I can meet up with the other requirements. Yes, I kind of took a small loan from the bank using our land as collateral. I'll finalize it tomorrow. Don't worry. I'll pay back after the other. It's just temporary." She stared at him, her mouth dry. "Temporary? Obinna, you used our land as collateral. The same land we've been saving for years just to acquire. Obinna, how do you plan to even pay back?" He raised his voice instantly, the way proud men do when they know they've been caught. "Ngozi, you and this your small thinking. Do you know what it means for your husband to become Ozo? Do you know the respect, the prestige? People will call you Lolo. You will walk into events and people will stand for you. Why are you always thinking like this?" But Ngozi wasn't smiling anymore. Her eyes were stayed fixed on him, long, quiet, and unblinking. In that moment, she saw something she hadn't wanted to admit before. The man standing before her wasn't chasing honor anymore. He was drowning in pride, and the dream he called Ozo was already swallowing everything they had built together. She turned away slowly, her heart heavy, whispering to herself, "So this is what they mean when they say some dreams come with a cost." A month later, he went for another Ozo meeting and came back humming happily. Ngozi waited till he finished eating before dropping the news. She dropped the envelope on the table. Inside were car documents and a sale agreement she had found in the drawer earlier that day. He looked confused. "Obinna, why is there a buyer's signature here?" she asked. He tried to grab the paper, but she held it tight. "What is this sales agreement about, Obinna? Did you sell our car?" His silence was answer enough. She sat down slowly as if her knees had given way. "So this is what we've become. First, you've withdrawn all the money we saved for our building project. Then you mortgaged our land. Now our car? For a red car?" Obinna looked away. "You won't understand. This is legacy. My father died without honor. I won't." She stood up quietly and left the room. And that was how it began. The dream that would soon turn their lives upside down. After selling the car, his behavior changed almost overnight. He began walking with a new air of importance, chin up, steps slower, words heavier. Even his dressing changed. He now wore white kaftans every time and slippers made of crocodile leather, the kind you only see at the traditional councils. Everywhere he went, he mentioned the Ozo title like a brand. At church, he would say, "Once my title comes, I will sponsor the new church building project." At work, he will be telling the colleagues, "I may soon retire. My people say a titled man doesn't sit under another man." Ngozi grew increasingly restless, but each confrontation only made things worse. He started hosting meetings for his other brothers. Almost every weekend, they would sit in the compound, drinking beer, chewing goat meat, arguing about the history of Ozo in Agwata as if the world depended on it. Whenever Ngozi asked about money for food or the children's transport, he would say, Ngo, my wife, handle those small things now. You know my head is full these days. One evening, she came home from school, tired, only to find their compound filled with cars and men wearing red caps. The smell of grilled meat and palm wine filled the air. She found Obinna laughing heartily, slapping a guest on the back. Obinna, what's happening? She asked quietly. He smiled proudly. My other brothers came from Agwata to visit me in Aoka. They say it's tradition and I must host them well. Ngozi forced a smile and went inside. On the dining table lay a heap of unwashed plates, her children's notebooks, and a torn school fees reminder. She sighed. The next week, Ngozi went to Obinna again. Her voice was tired. Obinna, this is the fourth time the school principal has dropped this reminder for the children's school fees. They say they will send them home tomorrow if we don't pay. Please, we need to do something. But Obinna waved her off like a fly. Ngozi, every time it's school fees, school fees, school fees. Are you the only woman paying school fees in this town? Can't the school wait small? My title ceremony is just next month and I need to settle those important dues. He called them important dues. Council levies, feast contribution, gift to elders, goat for chairman, rapper for women wing, and even advance for local musician who would sing his praise name on the big day. Every week, a new important dues appeared like magic. So Ngozi noticed something even worse. Money kept disappearing from their joint account. Who transfers went out, but nothing came in. The workers at their building site stopped calling, abandoned the project. At night, she would hear him whispering on the phone. Yes, sir, I will return it after the ceremony, please, sir. I'm sorry, my people are supporting me. It's just a matter of time. I will refund your money. I'm not running away. But no one was supporting him. It was all Obinna, sinking deeper into debt he called legacy. The home began to feel like a house with two seasons. Noise when he was hosting, silence when he wasn't. On weekends, the compound would be full of men wearing white, drinking, eating, and praising him as chief to be. During the week, the house was quiet, the fridge empty, the children silent from hunger. Every day, more money left the account until it ran dry. When Ngozi complained, he looked up from his chair and said, "You, a chief's wife shouldn't nag. Learn to have patience. I've told you after the title, you will see the difference." But what she saw was only emptiness, an empty wallet, an empty account, an empty fridge, and an empty man who no longer saw his family. By the next week, the landlord came, holding a paper and speaking softly this time, the way people talk to someone who's falling apart. "Madam, I know you people have never been late in paying your rent, but please, it's been a month. Tell your husband that he needs to pay his rent." Ngozi nodded quietly, forcing a smile she didn't feel. Inside, she was already beginning to wonder how much more her heart could take. One Friday evening, while she was ironing her clothes, she overheard a knock. It was her children's school principal standing outside. He was holding a white envelope. When she opened the door, he looked at her, his tone kind. "Madam, I'm sorry to disturb you at home. I have not chased your children away because of the respect I have for you as a teacher. I've written several letters and tried to be reasonable with you people. Your children can't continue without payment." Ngozi's face flushed. She thanked him, nodded and shut the door quietly. Inside, she leaned against the wall, shaking. Her daughter Ebube stood in the corner, eyes lowered. "Mommy, will we stop school?" she whispered. Ngozi smiled faintly through tears. "No, my child, your mother will find a way." That afternoon, Obinna hosted another Ozo party. He wore agbada, rented canopies, hired drummers, and told everyone, "My title is in a few weeks, so we must celebrate our progress." The laughter from the compound echoed down the street. Meanwhile, Ngozi was in the kitchen, boiling rice she had bought on credit, praying the smell of the jollof from the party wouldn't draw her children's hunger. Later that evening, when the crowd had thinned and Obinna sat on a plastic chair smiling, Ngozi came out with the school envelope. Obinna, we need to talk. Oh." He looked up, tipsy but cheerful. Not now, Ngo. Can't you see I'm tired? She dropped the envelope on his lap. It's from the school. The principal was here. He frowned, waving it off. Ngozi, stop embarrassing me with small matters. My friends just left here now. You think I should be discussing school fees when I'm about to become a titled man? Ngozi stared at him. Really? The man she married used to save money for his children's crayon. Now he was measuring love by the size of a fist. Obinna, she said softly, you're becoming someone I don't recognize. He stood up sharply. Ngozi, it's because you won't understand. You never had a father who died without an honor. Do you know what they said at my father's burial? Even in death, he was just Obidike the messenger. You won't understand. Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice stayed down. And if you continue like this, what would they say at your own burial? Here lies the chief who couldn't feed his own children. Her words hit like a slap. He turned away, furious, pacing. You women! You always know how to open your mouth and rap. This is somebody's dream, a man's dream, a family name, legacy. After now, when they start calling you Lolo, you will be boasting around. Ngozi whispered. Legacy built on debt is shame. He ignored her, stormed into the bedroom, and slammed the door. That night, while he snored heavily after his palm wine, she sat awake, staring at the ceiling fan, turning slowly. The sound reminded her of her own life, spinning, tired, and directionless. 2 weeks later, the landlord arrived again, this time with a warning letter. Ngozi read it and folded it neatly beside the lamp. She didn't say a word. She just watched Obinna polishing his shoes the next morning, humming a traditional tune and smiling at his reflection. As the weeks rolled by, Obinna's obsession only deepened. He began selling off their belongings one by one, as if the house itself was paying the bride price for his other dream. First, it was the furniture. The sofa vanished on a Monday afternoon. Then came the washing machine, one Ngozi had saved for over a year to buy. She came home that day to find an empty corner and a patch of floor where soap water once splashed. Obinna, where is the washing machine? She asked quietly. He barely looked up. Go, calm down. I needed quick cash to balance the payment for the cows. She swallowed her anger. She told herself to breathe. She told herself to endure. But the final blow came 2 days later. Ngozi walked into the bedroom and stopped at the door, frozen, confused, trembling. Their bed was gone. All that remained was a mat on the floor. She stood there in silence for a minute, unable to believe her eyes. Then she marched to the sitting room. Obinna, where is our bed? For once, he looked slightly uncomfortable, but pride didn't let him bend. Ah, that one. I sold it this morning. I needed to pay the DJ. His booking is tight this period. A lot of people are rushing him, so I wanted to secure him. Ngozi's voice cracked. You sold our bed. The bed given to us as wedding gift. He shrugged, smiling faintly. Ngo, don't make it sound like that. When I become an Ozo, I'll buy an even bigger one. Imported bed with gold edges. That was it. Something inside her snapped immediately, like a rope that had been pulled for too long. Her voice shook. Obinna, listen to yourself. Look at this house. Just take a look at what you've turned our lives into. You sold everything. Chair, washing machine, even our matrimonial bed, all because of one title. He scoffed loudly. You have to make sacrifices. Yes. Women like you, they are the reasons their husbands hold back. Don't worry. When I become an Ozo, you will understand. She stepped closer, her eyes burning. Understand what? That madness is now wisdom. That a red cap is more important than your own family. I've had enough of your madness, Obinna. Since the Ozo title is now the most important thing in your life, just go and be with it. Go and marry it. Go and worship it. I am done. What are you talking about? Her voice was calm. Obinna, I am done. He blinked. Done with what? Done with you. Done with your madness. Done with watching you destroy everything we built together. If you want to be also so badly, go and do it. But you will do it alone. Without another word, she walked into the room, the empty room, knelt beside the mat and began packing her things. Her hands were steady, her breathing was quiet, but her decision was final. She packed the children's clothes too. Obinna shouted from the sitting room, Ngozi, if you step out of this house, don't ever come back, oh. You will regret it, oh. She zipped the last bag, lifted her chin and walked past him. Obinna, I've been regretting this thing for the past 9 months now. She opened the door, ushered the children through, and stepped outside. The gate creaked behind her, soft, final, heartbreaking. Inside the house, Obinna sat on the bare wooden chair, polishing his phone screen like a man too blind to see that the real crown of his life had just walked away. When Ngozi left, it took Obinna a few days to realize that she hadn't just walked out of the house. She had walked out of his life. At first, he comforted himself. She will come back. Women always do. She can't stay without her husband. When he opened the pot and found nothing, when children's laughter no longer filled the compound, it dawned on him. Because he had been the one holding the family together all along. The truth burned quietly in his chest. There was nothing left to eat. The house was a shell, silent, dusty, empty. He stopped going to work. His salary was gone before it came, swallowed by loans and unpaid debt. He owed almost everyone in his office, even the cleaner. His phone buzzed day and night with messages. Obinna, pay me my money. You promised last week. He blocked some numbers, ignored others, but the shame still found him. Then one of the loan apps he'd borrowed from posted his name online. Public notice. Beware of Obinna Nwafo, serial debtor, fraudster and thief. Avoid any financial dealings with him. They attached his picture. It went around like wildfire. Within days, even members of the Ozo Council saw it. Some laughed, others shook their heads. When the week of the ceremony arrived, Obinna packed his white attire carefully, starched, pressed, and spotless. He carried his red cap like a crown. He arrived in Agwata the day before the feast. The village was alive, drums beating, goats tied under the trees, women decorating the square with palm fronds. The air was sweet with palm wine and pride. That night, Obinna hardly slept. He kept smiling in the dark, whispering to himself, tomorrow, they'll finally call me Chief Obinna Nwafo. Tomorrow, my father's dream will come true. Morning came with sunlight and jubilations. The village square glowed white, every man dressed in clean traditional attire, their red caps shining like rubies under the sun. The crowd clapped. As the drummers began to play, Obinna stepped into the square. His shoulders lifted, his steps measured. The sound of the drums entered his bones. He took his seat proudly beside the other candidates, adjusting his cap, preparing to rise when his name would be called. Then, a man in brown uniform walked up quietly and bent close. Sir, he whispered, please, you can't sit here. There's a message for you from the Ozo Council. Obinna frowned, confused. A message? What message? The man took him to a corner and handed him an envelope. He tore it open, his hands already trembling. The Ozo Council regrets to announce that your installation has been withdrawn due to multiple complaints, financial misconduct, and a public scandal. You are deemed unfit for initiation at this time. He read it again and again, but the words refused to change. The drums kept playing, the people kept cheering, but inside him the words stopped. He looked up just in time to see Nwafo, one of his colleagues who had also made it to the list, being lifted onto the stage, the elders placing the red cap on his head as the crowd shouted, Ozo Nwafo! Ozo Nwafo! That was supposed to be his name echoing in the air. That was supposed to be his moment. Instead, he stood there frozen. A white figure in the crowd holding a letter that erased everything he had destroyed his life to gain. No one noticed when he walked away. The crowd was too busy celebrating. He left the square with his cap still in his hand, his vision blurred with tears he couldn't hold back. He returned to Oka the next day. When he returned, the final humiliation awaited him. As he turned into his street, He saw a small crowd in front of his compound. His clothes, shoes, and a few old plates were scattered outside. A bold eviction notice was pasted on the door. Someone whispered, I heard he used up all his money to become an Ozo. He sank to the knees, the paper still clutched in his hand, and began to cry. Loud, bitter sobs that came from a heart too tired to hide shame anymore. I lost everything, he wailed. Everything for a title I never even got. The neighbors watched silently. Some pitied him, others whispered, pride goes before a fall. As the crowd dispersed, he sat there until dusk. When the wind picked up, his red cap rolled off his lap and landed in the dust. He stared at it for a long time, the symbol of everything he had worshipped. Then slowly he whispered, you were never worth it. He stood up and walked away, leaving the cap behind. And that was how Obinna, the man who sold everything to become a red cap chief, and Ozo, ended up with nothing, not even a title to bury his pride. The end. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. This story teaches us something deep. That respect is not bought with cows or ceremonies. It is earned in how you treat those closest to you. That no title is worth the price of your home, your family, your peace. Now sometimes the loudest enemy a man can fight is not outside his door. It is the pride sitting quietly inside his chest. And most importantly, that when ambition loses direction, it becomes destruction. Obinna chased a title so hard, he forgot the things that actually made him a man. By the time he realized it, the title was gone, the home was gone, his family was gone, and all that remained was the painful echo of his own choices. Let this story remind us that if a dream requires that you lose your mind, your morals, or your loved ones along the way, it is no longer a dream, it is a trap. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment if you were in Ngozi's shoes. What would you have done? Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.